On Tuesday, 40th President of Uruguay, Pepe Mujica, died at the age of 89. During a speech at the China Select Forum, Chinese President Xi Jinping declared his support for Latin American and Caribbean countries to reject external interference. And the Venezuelan government denounced the bias of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, in the face of violations against Venezuelans abroad. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We'll begin with the news. Stay with us. On Tuesday, the 40th President of Uruguay, Pepe Mujica, died at the age of 89 after a long struggle with esophageal cancer. This was confirmed by the current Uruguayan President Yamandu Orsi in a message shared on X. Mujica was born on May 20, 1935, in the city of Montevideo, in a family of flower growers of Basque descent. His political development began in the 60s when he resorted to the armed struggle against the civil-military dictatorship from the National Liberation Movement to Pamaros. He became president of the nation for the period 2010-2015. During his presidency, Mujica vindicated and prioritized social investment for the sake of welfare. Mujica has been described as the world's most humble head of state because of his austere lifestyle and because of his donation of about 90% of his $12,000 monthly salary to charities that benefit the poor and small entrepreneurs. And from the guerrilla movement to the presidency of Uruguay, the life of Pepe Mujica. Let's find out more.
José Mujica has been one of Uruguay's most influential figures in recent history. From territorial militancy and the guerrilla movement to the presidency of the Republic, his life was marked by struggle and political reflection.
I think there is too much. Too much. Too much believing that we multiply happiness by piling up things, and we live in a mirage. Politics has been transformed into a growing recipe book of economic character and an abandonment of philosophy, a serious mistake.
José Pepe Mujica was born on May 20, 1935 in Montevideo. In the 1960s, he joined the National Liberation Movement to Pamaros, and in 1972 he was imprisoned and spent 13 years in harsh conditions of detention. After being released when democracy was restored, he founded the Popular Participation Movement and began his institutional path. He was legislator, senator, minister, and finally President of the Republic.
I pledge, on my honor, to loyally perform the office entrusted to me, and to keep and defend the Constitution of the Republic.
As president, he promoted social laws that marked Uruguay, such as the law of the voluntary interruption of pregnancy, the legalization of cannabis, and the law on same-sex marriage. Its simple and direct style made him a relevant figure worldwide. He retired with more than 60% of popularity.
I'm not leaving. I'm coming. I will leave with my last breath. And wherever I am, I will be for you. I will be with you, because it is the superior way to be with life. Thank you, dear people.
We don't know how to thank him for what he did for us and for all of America, because he is the President of America, not of Uruguay alone.
In 2024, Mujica was diagnosed with esophageal cancer, and a year later, he publicly announced that he would not undergo any further treatment. The news shocked the region.
I want to say goodbye to my colleagues and my compatriots. What I ask is that they leave me alone, do not harass me with stupid interviews. My cycle has been over for a long time. Sincerely, I am dying, and the warrior has the right to rest.
In recent months, he has been visited by many international personalities, including the presidents of Colombia, Chile, Guatemala, Bolivia, and Brazil. The latter said that Mujica was the most extraordinary personality he had ever met in his life.
People do not choose siblings and people do not choose parents, but people choose a comrade. And I can tell you that of all the presidents I have known, with whom I have been friends and lived with for many years, he is not a president, he is a companion chosen by me to be my companion. Therefore, he is not a president, he is a partner chosen by me to be my fellow. Thank you, dear, you too are one of the best I have found in this long-suffering America of ours.
Despite his delicate state of health, Mujica continued to reflect publicly on national and regional political issues, as well as on existential issues to which he always gave a great importance.
Life is beautiful in spite of difficulties and setbacks. And to triumph in life is to start up every time you fall. And stop whining, lick your wounds, and move forward. I believe that we come from nothing and we go to nothing. Life is the adventure of molecules, and as such we have to interpret it. The idea that this is a valley of tears, and we have to behave well to go to paradise. No, hell and paradise are here, and the battle for human happiness must be fought here. And we must live life with intensity.
Flower grower, farmer, political activist, guerrilla fighter, hostage, congressman, senator, minister, and president of the Republic. José Mujica retired from public life having achieved the highest honors, faithful to a maxim he made his own and which summarizes a legacy of those who transcend: to live one's life in such a way that life remains in death.
Mateo Grille, teleSUR, Montevideo, Uruguay.
The Uruguayan government decreased national mourning for Mujica's death until Friday, May 16th. Interior Minister Carlos Negro made the announcement in a press conference. In addition, the official explained that there will be a special protocol to receive international leaders in the coming days. During the mourning period, the Uruguayan flag will fly at half-mast in all public buildings nationwide. In this context, presidents, former presidents, and other important Latin American leaders have expressed their messages of sorrow at the death of former Uruguayan President José Pepe Mujica, recalling the legacy of the leftist leader. The president of Uruguay, Yamandu Orsi, took to X to express, "It is with deep sorrow that we announce the death of our comrade Pepe Mujica, president, militant, referent, and leader. We will miss you very much, dear old friend. Thank you for everything you gave us and for your deep love for our people." The Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro also expressed on Telegram his sorrow for the passing of Uruguayan former President Pepe Mujica. "It is with deep sorrow that we convey our condolences and feelings of solidarity to the comrades and family of José Pepe Mujica, a humble man and tireless social fighter whose life was one of struggle, facing all vicissitudes with fortitude and dignity. The people of Uruguay and the world will always remember him with affection. From revolutionary libertarian Venezuela, heir of Bolívar and Chávez, we send a fraternal embrace to the people of José Gervasio Artigas, our brother people. Honor and eternal glory to Pepe Mujica." And in addition, the Cuban president expressed his condolences through his X account, where he said, "Our America mourns the passing of Mujica. His extraordinary life recalls the dark era of military dictatorship sponsored by Washington, but also the hopeful stage of the left in power and the unfulfilled dream of integration. Let us not forget." Likewise, the President of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, stated, "We deeply regret the passing of our beloved Pepe Mujica, an example to Latin America and the entire world for his wisdom, foresight, and simplicity. We extend our sadness and condolences to his family, friends, and the people of Uruguay." Furthermore, in a post on her X account, the president of Honduras, Xiomara Castro, shared some photograph of a meeting she recently had with the former president of Uruguay, Pepe Mujica, to pay tribute to him after his death, and wrote, "Pepe Mujica welcomed me with the simplicity of the wise. I visited him recently, and in his look, in his serene words, in his steadfastness, when he asked me about Mel, I confirmed what I always felt. I was in front of a giant of politics, a leader who courageously condemned the coup of June 28th, friend of the revolution, humble and coherent, a referent of our America. Respectfully and affectionately embrace Lucia at the Frente Amplio and President Yamandu Orsi. From Honduras, with gratitude and admiration." Let's now take our first short break. Remember, you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English. We'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We're going to be right back. Stay with us. In China, during a speech at the China CELAC Forum, President Xi Jinping declared his support for Latin American and Caribbean countries to reject external interference and follow a development path in accordance with their national conditions. During his inaugural speech at the 4th edition of the China CELAC Ministerial Forum, the Chinese president said that the countries of the region stand united against geopolitical tensions, confrontations, unilateralism, and protectionism. On the other hand, he rejected bullying and high-handed practices a day after Beijing and Washington announced a truce that will see tariffs reduced to 10% and 30%. President Xi also said that China and CELAC will implement the Global Development Initiative to defend the multilateral trading system and strengthen industrial chains. And the Venezuelan government denounced on Tuesday the bias of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, in the face of violations against Venezuelans abroad. In a statement, the Venezuelan government pointed out that following his recent lukewarm statement, he demonstrates an unacceptable double standard. While he vehemently attacks Venezuela, he remains silent in the face of abuses committed by governments aligned with hegemonic interests. He seems more concerned with preserving his office than with defending human rights. The document also states that the position of High Commissioner requires firmness, not ambiguity. His inaction in the face of these crimes reflects a negligent and complacent attitude towards the systematic violation of the human rights of Venezuelans. Venezuela will continue to demand justice and denounce the political use of our migrants as hostages in the war against our people. The Venezuelan government statement referred to the statements offered by UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Volker Turk when he expressed the entity's alleged concern about the deportation of non-nationals, especially those incarcerated in El Salvador. According to Liz Throssell, spokesperson for the Office of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights since U.S. President Trump took office in January, 142,000 migrants have been deported from that nation. Throssell further denounced that the fate and whereabouts of some 245 Venezuelans and 30 Salvadorans removed to El Salvador remain unknown. Likewise, he claimed that the detainees were taken to the second prison without their families being notified. And former U.S. Congressman Matt Gaetz filmed a documentary at the second prison in El Salvador. Images show Venezuelan migrants denouncing they have been kidnapped. The documentary recorded at the so-called terrorism confinement center in El Salvador shows the daily environment inmates face. Images from the film show the detainees shouting in unison they are currently being kidnapped. At the moment, the 252 Venezuelan migrants remain detained at the Salvadoran prison after being deported without prior trial from the United States, accused of belonging to the now defunct Tren de Aragua criminal group. We now have our second and final short break coming up. Before we invite you to visit our Facebook page at teleSUR English. There you'll be able to watch our top stories, special live coverage, and much more. Follow our page and activate the notification button to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final break, we'll be right back with more. Welcome back. Cuba rejected the White House's re-inclusion of the country on an arbitrary list of allegedly uncooperative countries in U.S. anti-terrorism efforts. The communique expresses the U.S. Secretary of State, known for lying to justify his measures against the Cuban people, re-includes Cuba in the list of countries that do not cooperate with U.S. anti-terrorist efforts. He should be reminded that in 2024, agencies of his country presented evidence to prove the contrary. And the government of Venezuela categorically rejected the inclusion of Cuba on the list drawn up by the United States to classify countries that, in the words of the U.S. government, do not cooperate fully against terrorism, while denouncing that this attack adds to the long list of aggressions against the Caribbean island. In a statement issued by the Venezuelan authorities, they say that this new attack is not due to security reasons or verifiable facts. It is a political decision motivated by the desire to punish sovereignty, to persecute the example of dignity of a people that has not surrendered, and to unleash new forms of economic and diplomatic strangling against the Cuban Revolution. They concluded by detailing that Cuba has resisted a brutal blockade for more than 6 decades and has responded with solidarity, cooperation, and commitment to world peace. This example is uncomfortable precisely because it has not given in. Venezuela expresses its total solidarity with the Cuban government and people and warns that this maneuver only confirms the moral and political exhaustion of an international political class that, unable to subdue free peoples, resorts to the use of lies, criminalization, and collective punishment. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum stressed that CELAC's relationship with China is not new and that a general declaration will be issued after the China-CELAC Forum concludes.
It is a relationship that we have had for a long time. It is not new. CELAC is an organization of all the countries of Latin America and the Caribbean, and there have already been conferences that had to do with CELAC's relationship with China. It has also been done with the United States, and in this case, this meeting was scheduled for a long time to be held in China. In some cases the heads of state were there. In our case we were well represented by Foreign Minister Juan Ramón de la Fuente, and a very general statement is going to come out of the good relationship that has to do with China and with other regions of the world.
Personalities from the world of cinema condemned on Tuesday Israel's genocidal campaign against Palestine during the Cannes Film Festival. More than 380 world cinema artists issued a joint statement to pay tribute to a Palestinian photojournalist who was killed in an Israeli bombing, and her documentary, in which she starred, will premiere at the Cannes Festival. In the text, the actors emphasized that they cannot remain silent while Israel commits genocide against the people of the Gaza Strip. After asserting that cinema must serve to protect oppressed voices, they call on the film industry to take action to convey the suffering of Palestinian victims and thus show the truth about the Israeli war. In Libya, at least 7 people were killed after heavy clashes between armed groups in the capital, Tripoli. According to a statement from the Libyan Center for Emergency Medicine and Support, the bodies, whose identities are still unknown, were found by the body recovery unit in the streets near the epicenter of the conflict. Clashes between the stability support apparatus and a coalition of the joint force in Misrata followed the assassination of the head of the support apparatus, Abdul Ghani al-Kikli, known as Niwa. In this regard, the Ministry of Interior has called on all citizens not to leave their homes, and the city's educational institutions have suspended all academic activities indefinitely. Like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. Join us on social media, Facebook, X, Israel, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.